Hello everyone. So from Tuesday, the Grimdark challenge starts. It's going to be running on Daring, not Unfair for some reason. But from what I understand, there's going to be Twitch drops. So people that are going over to Twitch to view some people, you'll be able to get some 3 unique in-game items. I've actually decided I'm going to stream to YouTube because my audience is on YouTube, and I don't want to try splitting people to try and make a push to a platform that I'm probably not going to invest any time on, really. So I've been going through, I've been updating all my builds again. I've been getting other people to go through it, make sure I haven't put any errors or mistakes. For the tournament itself, I've already mapped out my route for Act 2. The rest of it I'm just going to wing. For me, I really believe that this competition is going to come down to a little bit of RNG to make sure that you don't get one shot, but because it's on Daring, I don't think actual combat's going to matter. It's going to be all down if someone accidentally summons a demon by Idra and it wipes their party, or if you accidentally go into the wrong space encounter at the wrong time and you lose there. Other than that, it's just going to be who knows how to trigger the most quests, because it's based on who can beat the shard without losing a battle, which I think everyone can. Then it's going to be who does the most quests. So there are some ways you can lock yourselves out of quests, so some accidents could happen there. And then the last one is the amount of game time played. And I'm definitely not a speedrunner, and I like to go through and do everything. From what I understand, rumours don't count, but I'm still going to try and full complete the rumours anyway, because that's just me. For the builds, I am going to use my Pyro God build, and I'm going to use a slight mix on it. So I'm actually going to change the way I'm doing it, because now everyone's done their version of the exact same build. There's tons of them. They're all virtually identically the same. Whether or not some people actually understand the mechanics or don't depends if you'll see Orchestrate Flame. But I've decided that I've realised that even though it's the popular choice, Biomancy is not a good addition to the build. Mostly because of how it works. So when you actually look at the game mechanics, the Biomancy stuff happens after the damage, and it doesn't stack. And it procs on the player's next turn, not on the enemy's turn. Which means Drukhari weapons are going to be better because each of their hits will stack damage, and it will also proc on the enemy's turn if somehow they survive. So stuff like Blade Dance is actually going to put on more stacks of Toxing than, say, having the Biomancy. So that means that when you use Where It Hurts and you smack someone with your Orchestrate Flame whilst they've got Bleed and Toxin on them, you're actually going to do a lot more damage if you have a Drukhari weapon. So yes, that's going to be my plan for that. For my companion builds, I've updated them all. I'm probably at the start going to use a Malpain Shroud Chainsaw A-Blood, but I am eventually going to swap that over to Heinrichs because, yeah, no, there's a lot of movement issues that comes with Vanguard. Vanguard is not a good choice, and it really does need a buff. The main issue with Vanguard is it wastes so much MP, and it's just not really got any movement itself. Yeah, you have charge on it, but you don't have any extra AP, and after you attack, you lose all that MP. So when you use Finest Hour from an officer, Vanguard often just becomes dead in the water, making it the weakest class in the game. It just gets stuck and it wastes AP. Whereas if you have an Arc Militant, you can give that Finest Hour to the Arc Militant, they can attack and they can keep moving, they can use all of their own AP, build up enough momentum to then use the Warrior's Heroic Action to get more MP and more attack action. So it's actually far, far, far more efficient to use an Arc Militant. The only problem is, the only good quality of Vanguard is it stacks temporary HP, which means that it can use Malpain Shroud. The downside to that is, there are other classes that use it better. Blade Dancer Executioner just uses temporary wounds better, so it's actually better to put the Malpain Shroud on a Pyro Blade Dancer Executioner than is a Vanguard. So Vanguard just ends up being a wasted slot. At the start you might think it's useful, it's oh, but I would need to tank. Yeah, but the Vanguard doesn't tank. Warrior does. All the tank abilities come from Warrior. There are actually more dedicated tanking abilities in Arc Militant. So, unfortunately, Vanguard's that thing that's been dick-road so hard that it's never had the buffs it deserves because it's been mean to be the best thing by people who don't really play the game on higher difficulties. So, because of that, the balancing's a little bit off. And some people say, oh, well, you shouldn't balance for higher difficulties. Well, the thing is, it isn't balanced for higher difficulties. Daring is actually normal mode. It's where there's nothing in favour of the player or the enemies. But the problem is, once you understand the game, even on unfair, the game becomes too trivialized. And because of the DLC, the EXP for the encounters are so vastly in the player's favor. There's no challenge. One of the things that I do want to start making a note of to the devs, especially if I manage to win this, is we need better balancing for the DLC now that's in there. Because you get so much more XP and it's so much more front-loaded, there's no challenge left anymore. Or it used to be a threat that you used to have to think and plan out your spacing for the battle. Now you're level 16, you don't. You just go in with grand strategy and you just win before you even get to turn. It's the same as you go for the rest of the DLC. You just out-level the content so much, there's no challenge. By the time we get the next DLC, the game unfair it's going to be considered normal mode, which is going to be harder for new players who don't understand these strategies, who don't understand the mechanics. They're going to start getting like pushback that they're not playing on the correct difficulty, which again, this shouldn't be the state. I think they need to rebalance with each difficulty in mind. So you get the base game's got its own balancing, then you get a balanced pass for daring, and then a balanced pass for unfair. And it needs to have the DLC taken into consideration. So yes, you should have all the standard vanilla counters, but I think if you have DLC, some of the counters should be adjusted and scaled to where you'll be because of the DLC. But that's probably a discussion for people with more runtime experience. I've only got 400 hours in the game. But yeah, look, right here. Problem with Vanguard. Can't get there. Arc Militant could. I had to charge and move to try and get in, and I still couldn't make it. And I've got all that AP just wasted. It's not like these enemies are going to survive to be able to go and parry riposte. Like, too many people play non-optimal playstyles and push for weak things and saying it's OP when it just isn't. Honestly, I think Assassin needs a small buff. Maybe for melee Assassin, they need some better mobility options because they often get stuck outside the warrior heroic action. Unless you go into Aldari weapons, because Aldari weapons after melee you can keep moving. So for an Assassin, actually using the Aldari weapons is probably an idea. But as far as I'm aware, there's only like 2 of their chainsaws in the game, the normal and the mastercrafted version. Yeah, some more versions of that would be actually quite nice. But yeah, Vanguard as well. Vanguard is probably the weakest archetype in the game by far. And then the last one being Operative, which is a base class. Operative, it needs a way to get more actions. Yeah. Bounty Hunter works very well with it because you can create a lot of extra turns with it, and that's how I run Pascal. But yeah, it does need a little once over. Like I said, if I somehow manage to win this, I'm definitely going to start pushing some balanced stuff and getting people's feedback from all the different various channels. But yeah, no, pop along Tuesday, come see me play live, and if I lose, that'll be hilarious. Oh, good achievement.